All right, welcome back, my friends. We're on to our first real project coding setup for our VM diagrammer application. So let's get going here. We'll open up our Visual Studio. Again, I'm using Visual Studio 2019, and what we're going to do is we're going to start a new project as we start to try to look at this. So we're going to create a new project. It'll be a WPF application using a .NET framework. Okay. We'll hit next. We'll go through. We're going to call this as VM diagrammer. I'm going to change the location so that it's somewhere more convenient for me. We'll go through, put it into our programming folder, and that should be good. And again, we're just going to target the 4.72, the most recent framework that's available for Visual Studio, or at least the most recent one that I have. And then we'll hit create. And we'll let it run through and start to open itself up. Now, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at getting ourselves kind of some basic setup. Again, I'm more into let's just get it functional, get it working, and then we'll work on refactoring, making it pretty, following MVVM and those kind of things. So we'll see if we can kind of get our font sizes set up. This is the first video I've done on the live recording of this. Maybe if I move that down 150 might be a little big. All right. So what we've got in our general setup here is basically kind of get my windows resized. I had some things a little bit funky here. Okay, there we go. All right. So those of you, I'm assuming that people are familiar with the Visual Studio IDE, but the general breakdown is that this is our project over here on the right. And so we're going to work on kind of setting up, doing a little bit of setup just for how we're going to store stuff. We'll make some folders and those kind of things. And we'll get into actually starting to kind of to make this done. So I'm going to try to keep these sessions fairly short, maybe 45 minutes. I tend to go long, so no more than an hour on this. And I'll try to bookmark this so you can jump ahead if you need to. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of start to set this up. And within our project solution, we're going to make a bunch of folders. Go to a new folder. I'm going to make one called models. Okay. Okay. And then we'll make another one. New folder, and maybe we do something with views at this point. Okay, and then add, and just to be good MVVM citizens, I'll go ahead and make the view models one. Now, if you're not familiar with the MVVM pattern, it's the model view model pattern in which you do all your data analysis inside of the model objects, and then those are tied into information that kind of tells how to display things out of that model object, and then the view links into those. Now, we're not going to be doing a whole lot with XAML in this, because that's truly where WPF starts to shine. I just want to kind of say, I'm just looking to have an object that I can draw onto that gives me a window and some basic functionality. And so we'll kind of work on those as we go. I'm also going to want to add probably another folder for things like any sort of utility functions that we need. And so I'll leave those in there. Those would be kind of some helper files, and maybe I may go ahead and make a helpers folder. And then eventually, as this thing progresses, we may look to try to refactor some of this stuff out into a different project that could then be cross-platform, as much as C# can be cross-platform, right? But we'll unhook all the model objects can be extracted out, and those could be, used by, C++ code or something like that. And that's kind of my intent. So, models, views, utilities. I had another one I was going to do, and I can't remember what it was. Okay. So, all right. Well, helpers. That was it. Because I know that we're going to need some helper functions that we're going to take advantage of for like drawings and that kind of stuff. So that'll work. All right. So if we go through and we look in here, everything right now is basically set up for, here's our application XAML document. And you can see that there's not a lot going on behind the scenes. It's pretty empty. Okay. And so we can close that and close that. And so everything else is pretty much contained in this one window. So if I hit start on this, it'll take it a second the first couple of times. There it goes. All we have is just a plain empty window type object that we're kind of looking on here. Let me slide this over a little bit, hiding behind my beautiful image of me on this video. All right, so we'll close that. Okay, so first thing we want to do is I am going to make a canvas object. Canvas. We're going to do a name. And we're just going to call this main canvas. This is kind of the object that we're going to draw to. I'm going to use this as a name so that I can cheat on the inside, and we'll do that. And just so, let's see, probably give it a width. My window width is 800. Let's give it a width of 700, and we'll give it a height, okay, of 400. And just so I can see the object, I'll change the background color, and we'll just do kind of a light gray. Keep it fairly conservative in our, didn't take enough off. Let's do 750 there. All right. All right, so we can save that, and then just so you can see it. So now you can see I've kind of got a window object that, again, we'll be putting in toolbars and menus and all that kind of stuff. But now I've got my canvas object drawn on this. Okay, so now we should be able to go back in and come into our main object, and we can say, so this is where we're going to initialize things. I'm going to make a routine called onUserCreate that I'm going to call. Okay, and I take some liberties on this. I like to create a function that I can kind of toss things that will happen once every time the project runs. So this is the initial setup where you make your objects and so forth and so on. Okay, and then we'll make another one. So we're going to generate a method on userCreate, and I did that by hitting Control period. And so that gives me the stub. Now, of course, if I call this function right now, it's going to throw an exception that it's not been implemented, because obviously it hasn't been implemented. And then I'm going to throw in another one. It starts to look something kind of like this. Okay. And so that will get us there. And so again, do a Control period, and I can create that method. And there are our basic methods. Now I do like to comment stuff. And so let's put those in here. This is for, routine that is called once. Oops, and that I am on the unuser. Got the wrong one. Let's fix that. Paste that guy in there, and this is called once per cycle or frame, depending on how fast you're rendering stuff out, to update the visuals for the model. Okay, all right, so that will get us that. Oops, and all those lines are on there because I was still running the other window. It should come on. There we go. All right, so that gets us those. So things on the user update, we'll eventually spin off some threads. For now, we're just going to do just kind of brute force, and eventually we'll want to have like worker threads and background threads and things that are, one that way. Because otherwise, if this application is single threaded, then everything dictates on finishing the previous command. But if I want to be able to move the UI or click stuff or do other things, while the program is crunching numbers or calculating or drawing something, then I need a second thread to be able to separate those out. So otherwise we get a very laggy type of interface that we're starting to work on there. Okay, so that's where we're going here. All right, so now as we start to kind of think about this, and we want to come in, and there are some classes that we need to make. Obviously, we're going to need to define nodes. We're going to need to define beams and those kind of things. So let's go ahead and add a class for that. Okay, and so our class number 1, this is going to be, I'll call it VM node. Okay, and so we'll add that. Okay, and then we're going to add another class. And then we're going to call this as VM beam. And that'll get us that one. And so that will get us nodes and beams. And there will be some properties associated with each of those. So let's go into our nodes and what kind of information do we want to need. First off, we're going to make this a public. Okay. And then we're going to have private member. Let's call it X. Private. We're going to do doubles for now. Probably don't need that level of precision, but for now we'll set it that way. X. And then private double M Y. And I know some of you guys are screaming at me going, use the default getters and setters. And I like to spell it out just, again, for those that aren't familiar with it or trying to learn how to do C#, just kind of how we set this up. Now, these are private variables. So what I can do is I can say that, Now I can come in and I can do a public, and let's do a double, and let's just call it as X. Okay, for our node, and then we can come in and I should be able to, and then do a get. Oops. So we're going to get, and this is going to return MX. And I don't need to do the return if I do. So there's a shortcut notation you can do that looks like that, which that is the exact same thing as doing get and then doing, you know, return with something kind of like that. Would be kind of a similar functionality. So we'll do that. And then I can do a set. And let's do the thing that we're going to do is we're going to set my equal to value, because it's a variable that's passed in whenever you call the X function. That will get us there. And then let's see. So that gets us and then we'll do the same thing for Y, public double Y. If I could type, that would definitely help. And then do a get Y, and then we can do a set X. And you guys are screaming at me already. I can tell because I had a typo in the last one and I see that now. Okay. And that should be an MX. Okay. Now, of course, there should probably be some logic checking in this, you know, check to make sure that the value is the right type, that it's not some sort of alphanumeric thing. But for now, we're gonna trust this, and we'll work on our unit testing and our error checking and exception handling here in a second. Right now, we're just trying to get some things set up so that we can work on our kind of get something onto the screen fairly quick. Okay, so we're gonna do a CTOR shortcut. That's the constructor, and so my VM node. Now we're not gonna call the constructor, so we're gonna do a double X, double Y, and all we're gonna do is then say X equals X and Y equals Y. And so what this does, this will call the getters and the setters that will then pass things through. And the reason that we do it this way is that if I use the getters and the setters, in order to be able to do binding into the window, if I chose to do it, I would have to have a getter and a setter, or tell how to get the information that it needs. So it's kind of, you're looking at this, and if you're from classical languages, you know, you're kind of looking at, well, why do I need these two items? Okay, and we just say mx equals that value, my equals this. Well, we're trying to kind of protect it, through these privates and publics, and then again, I want to be able to bind into this variable so that it doesn't manipulate, this. And in fact, what you can do is you can often do something kind of like a get and a private set, which then basically really restricts the ability to change the data. Okay, just because of the private and public settings. The gets are always public in this case, just because we're getting ready to display it anyway, so we'll set ourselves there. So let's do that. Okay, so that's our VM node object. Okay, now we'll go through. There will be some other features that we want to look at on this. I'm trying to think. One thing that's going to happen on all these, the beam is going to consist of node objects. So right now we're just kind of making our nodes. Okay, but eventually we're going to want them all to be able to draw themselves. Okay, and so the fact that those two are going to share a common function in this almost tells me that we should probably be putting in another folder of interfaces. Okay, and so we can come in and do that, and let's add a class in here, and we're going to do try to remember here. We want to add a class. Okay, and this is, let's call it I drawing objects. Okay, and so that will get us that one. And again, this is going to be public. And this guy is going to have a virtual void draw function, if it'll let me do that. Cannot be private. So, okay, public. What did that do? Did that solve it? Let's declare a body. Okay. And then I don't need a semicolon. There we go. Sometimes the nomenclature gets me. All right, so we're going to declare this as virtual, which basically means that anything that inherits from the drawing objects is going to need to have this function. So I've got that. So let's go back to my node. We're going to inherit from I drawing objects. Okay, and then of course it's yelling at me because it doesn't know where this is because of the namespace stuff. So we're going to come in, I'm going to hit control period, and you can see now it's saying, oh, use the VM diagrammer interfaces folder, and then that's where I can find that object, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, now I've got a bunch of stuff up here that isn't being used at all, so I'm going to, and normally I would clear those out, but for now we'll just leave it there and we'll clean up all of this stuff. But now we've got that. Okay, so there's our drawing objects. Okay, and now we want to come in and do a public override of, oops, if I could spell override, try it again. Public void, or is it override void? Override void draw. Okay, where it's going to say, oh, I'm going to go up and grab the superclass. So it's going to go to the base class that it's inheriting from on that. Okay, now we're not doing anything because we declared it as virtual. So now I can come in and we can do something like, let's see, we want to do main canvas. Let's see. I'll pull this file up and pull some blocks of code out of here. So what we can do is, if I want to say draw a circle somewhere in here, is we can do something like the following. And so we want to do, say, so we're going to want to draw a circle. I'm going to need to give it a canvas. That is our main canvas. And then we want to do this dot x, this dot y. And for now, we'll kind of set ourselves up with that. So we've already kind of starting to make a helper function on this. It does not exist in the current model. And so, all right, so let's do this. Let's do this a canvas object in C, and we'll do that. And so now it's going to warn me, I don't know what a canvas is. So we're going to add the controls so it knows that control. Okay, now it's saying we don't know that we're not matching the blueprint for it. So let's go back to this. This is now a canvas C type of object. And again, once again, we've got to add the control period. We've got to add the controls so that they can find that. All right, so that solves that problem. That solves this problem. The base.draw. We don't even need the base.draw. So, all right. All right, so what we've done is we've now set ourselves up to be able to do a circle. So for a node, we just want to draw kind of a solid circle. All right, so that's why we went in and we kind of made why we're trying to kind of set this up. So that's why we have the helper folder. So we're going to do a helper. Let's do an add. Let's do another class. And let's say, call it drawing helpers. In that one, we're going to add that guy. Public. Okay, and so now we've got to get our draw circle. So we're going to declare this as a public static shape, because we're going to be drawing shapes into our canvas. And so let's add our window shapes, and we're going to, this is our draw circle function. We had a canvas object that is C, and then we're going to do a double X and a double Y, which would be the coordinates of the node. Then we'll get us on that, and then we can declare our function. And so, all right, so now let's draw our circle node. So we're going to do an ellipse, and I'm just going to call it as my ellipse for lack of a better idea. Call it new ellipse. Okay, and so what we want to do is we want to do my ellipse dot fill. And a lot of this you can do, like I say, we could do some of this through data binding if we wanted to, but right now we're just trying to kind of get ourselves set up. Let's do solid color brush. And then, let's see. Okay. And then do colors dot, do it off the media line, colors dot. And for now, we'll just make it black. And eventually, we'll probably make this as a variable that can pass in so I can dynamically change that as well. We want to change the stroke. Okay. Stroke equals new solid color brush. Then it's going to be colors dot, yeah, just for argument, let's just put a white stroke on that. And then do my ellipse dot stroke thickness. Let's just say that this is a 2.0. We'll get us that one, so that kind of gets us a white ring around it. And now do my ellipse dot width. Okay. Let's just say for now, let's just make it 10.0. Okay, and then my ellipse dot height, also 10.0. Okay. And then our location, where we're going to put this, we want to do canvas dot set left. This kind of helps. And one of the things with drawing to canvas is you have to kind of move things around a little bit. And so what we're going to do is it's going to set it to the upper left corner of the box of this thing, but I'm going to shift it by a half a box width. X times my ellipse dot width divided by 2.0. That gets us that one. And again, it doesn't know what the canvas object is, so we got to add that. So control period again gets that added into our list. And then we're going to set the top in the same way. Top. Now, one thing is that you can only use two of these, set left, set right, set top, set bottom. Okay. And so we can kind of work on getting that ellipse. I'm going to do y minus my ellipse dot height. And that will get us that one. And of course I put my in there twice. All right. You guys are hollering at the screen already, aren't you? Okay. And I think, and then the last piece is that we have to do c.children.add to actually add it to our canvas. That way it's able to be drawn. And then we can return the object. And whether we do something with this or not, that's another story. But so again, very crude, but a simple way to be able to draw stuff. Okay, so that gets us, that was our drawing helpers function. So that's our draw. We've got our node, draw circle. Oh, and then it's going to say, hey, node, draw circle. Why is that not? Okay, and okay, this dot. Nope. Why is it? That's an empty function, so we do need that. All right. Why is it not? Draw circle does not. Doesn't know where the draw circle function is, does it? Let's see. Draw circle. Did I make it private? No, I made it public. There it is. Okay, so the issue that we had was that because I declared it as static, I had to explicitly name where it was looking for it, so now it knows. Okay, so if I had taken, let's take this line out that I typed in by hand, and you can say, oh, I don't know what it is, and so now I do this, and I can add it back in, the control period trick, and so that's where what I typed in by hand is what it's doing. All right, little things, little gotchas in here. All right, so now we know how to draw it. Now let's go make one and give this thing a test. So go back over to on user create. And let's do VM node. My node is equal to a new VM node. And we're going to pass it main canvas. I'm going to pass it a coordinate of 100 and 100. Okay, and it's yelling at me because it doesn't know about the models. So I'll do the control period trick to get those tossed in. Why are you hollering? You do too take a constructor that takes 3 arguments. Oh, no you don't. Oh, nice. Okay, so we'll take that off. I just need the node created. That gets us that one. And then I can come in and do my node.draw. And we'll put that on main canvas. Okay. So that was and then we are going to put that at, and it should have its location and everything else. So let's do that. So yeah, made a mistake. We don't need, yeah, this dot draw main canvas. Yep, that's all we need. So I think we're in shape. Let's give it a run. Let's see. Oh, oops. Let's take the update off. Comment that out just because obviously I haven't implemented it yet. And so you can see it's hiding up there. All right, so let's make this a little bit bigger. And, 100. What if I make you like 500? Drawing helpers. Let's try it again. So it moved over a little bit, but it didn't come down. Why did you not come down? You're not getting the X. You got the 500 there, but you're not getting the Y. Why are you not getting a Y? All right. Double Y. All right. 500. 500 XY. Oh, I see it. There it is right there. I overwrote the Y value. See? Debugging for the win. So, yeah, so I needed a typo there. All right. All right, I'll take that off. Continue. Take that off. Continue. And now I'm too tall for the window. Oops. All right. And this is what you guys are in tune for, or are set for. So let's do 200, 200. And so there's our dot. It's a little small, but for now, stroke thickness. What if I make this guy, make it more like 30? There it is. So that would be our first node. And so we can start to add things like triggers for hovering over things and being able to move items around. But we got a node on the screen, so that's all right. It's even got a white ring around it. And it's kind of the way that we want to kind of set this up. Now, while we're here, and how are we doing on, we're 30 minutes in. All right, so we got our basic circle. Let's add another function that lets us draw a line. And I'll show you what we're going to do, because we want to make a beam object. It's going to consist of the same basic item. So let's do a canvas C. We're going to pass it nodes. All right, so we want to do a VM node start and a VM node end. And that will get us that one. Oops. And we got to include that because you don't know what that is. Although if that's truly a helper. Well, again, we can refactor some of this stuff later. Oh, stop that. Okay. And then we'll go find our line. Well, not all code paths. Of course they don't. So let's make a line. Line. My line is a new line. And so now we're going to set the properties. My line dot stroke equals a new solid color brush, and we're going to do colors dot, and just so we can distinguish it, let's just make the lines red, and we'll do my line and the stroke thickness, and we're going to make that equal to 2.0, and then we'll do my line dot x1 is start dot x, and then do my line y1 is start dot y, and my line dot x2 is our end. Too many dots. Y2 is end dot y. Oh, what are you doing to me here? Okay, and that will get us that. And then we want to do C. Let's see. Children dot add, and then we'll do my line. And then we're going to return my line. All right, so that will also, so this will add a line object if I pass it 2 nodes there. So again, this is getting into our beam object, so let's do a public on him. And just like we did with the draw, he's going to draw himself as, we want to draw a line. And then let's do this dot start, this dot end. All right, so we got lots of stuff we got to clean up. First off, it doesn't know the canvas, so we need to include that. Control period. It doesn't know drawing helper, so include that. And of course, we haven't defined these, so we need to do these. All right, so the VM beam is going to be a private. Going to need a private VM node in start, and we're going to do a private VM node in end. Okay, and then we'll do our getters and our setters again. So a public VM node start. We're going to do get return start. So a lot of this we could be doing shortcuts, but again, I'm being explicit in the way that we're setting this. And then set, and then start equals value. We'll get us that one. That will set that guy. And then we'll take this block of code and we'll call this as end. And we'll change you to an end. And we'll change you to an end. Or say you're equal to, whoa. value. All right, so that gets us those, and then we want to do our constructor. Okay, and it's going to take in a VM node called start, and it's going to take a VM node called end. And so then start equals start, end equals end. And then it knows how to draw itself. And now it's warning me that it doesn't know that method because it needs to inherit from I drawing objects. Put that on there, and I think that will resolve the issue. So I inherit from, because it's got that same hierarchy. So now we should be good to be able to go in. Let's add another node. Okay. And so new VM node, let's do another one at, say, 300. 300, so that defines the node. Oh, my node 2, horrible names, we will be changing those. And then let's do a VM beam. My beam, that is a new VM beam that goes from my node, my node to my node 2. And that will get us there. And so then we can draw my node. We can do my node 2 dot draw main canvas, and then we can do my beam dot draw also to main canvas. And that will get us there. And I think with any luck, we should have 2 nodes and a beam on the screen when it's done. And there it is. Isn't that cool? Pretty easy. Not too bad. And so we've kind of got our some basic infrastructure set up for being able to draw things. Again, there will be other utilities that we'll want to add. We'll want to add text and eventually the ability to be able to pick things up and move them around if we want. But so far, we've got a basic canvas and being able to draw some things on that. Now, the one thing that we don't have is we don't have in our actual model all of the model objects associated with this window. And so let's go ahead and let's put, and I'm just going to store stuff as really as a, we'll do it as a list. So public list of I drawing objects. And then get set. And this is our model. And again, you don't know what that is, so let's get the interfaces plugged in. So there's our collection that we can use. And we may decide to make this an observable, an observable collection or something like that eventually. But for now, this is, okay, list containing objects to be drawn. All right, and then we'll come down into this. And so after each one of these, I want to do model.add my node. And then we can come in and do model.add my node 2. And you can already see there's a lot of repetition of code happening on here that we'll come up with better ways. Model.add my beam. And the thing that's cool about doing it that way is I can now come in and say, for each I drawing objects item in model, I can say item.draw main canvas. And so we've kind of condensed the drawing, and this actually becomes a draw routine for the object. Now, one thing that we can do on this is we can now come in and I can move this up to here, and then all I have to do on this is call, I don't even have to call on user create because it's already in there. And I can now take on user update, and that is now So we create everything once, and then all I have to do is anytime we make a change to our drawing or to our program or to our model, I call on user update, and I never touch what was created here. Now, ultimately, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to be able to start to use the user the mouse to be able to click points or to be able to enter points by hand wherever we want them, as opposed to auto generating them. But the part that's right here in on user update will never change because of the way that we've set all of this up. And I think that's a good starting point for being able to do this. So, whoa, where are you blowing up on me? Get returned null. Well, I add my node. Why are you? Oh, I forgot to initialize. So on user create does need to do, okay, list I drawing objects. Whoops. Model equals new list of I drawing objects. There we go. That's why it blew up. Stop that. And there we go. So now we can do some fun things like for int I equals 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. And we can come in and say, let's do, okay, let's see. VM node equals new. VM node equals new. VM node, and I can do I times 100. And then we'll just set it at, yeah, why not? Let's do I times 50. And then I can add model dot add, and then we'll add node to that. And now I've dynamically created those. So if we, for now, we're going to comment this out. Now I can come in. You can see now I've generated multiple nodes, so I can even come in and make this say 10. And so you can see we can start building those. And then I can come in and, okay, if our counter is greater than 0, now I can do, whoops, stop the run, do VM, beam, my beam, well, let's just call it beam, okay, equals new VM beam, and we're going to do, it's our, if I start adding those beams in now, yeah, I see a problem with what I'm doing. Let's do model dot, yeah, we're going to have to fix something here. Model 0 dot x and model, no, let's do model I minus 1 dot x and model I. Comma, get that, get you into that. What are we doing? Comma. And we don't need the X on that because it's just the node that we're wanting. this is I need to cast it. So it's telling me that it can't. VM node. There we go. VM node. There we go. Now we're able to get this because everything was drawn as it's an eye drawing object. It didn't know whether it was a node or what. So I've now pulled the nodes out, cast them in, collected those. Now, problem that we want to do is, I think what we're going to do for now, let's call this as nodes. Change the name of that to nodes, and then I'm going to make another one that is public list drawing objects beams. And again, we may decide we want to do something a little bit differently on that. So we need to go initialize, which is this line, exact same thing, Control C. Beams. Okay. And again, if I split it this way, there's no need to separate them all as eye drawing objects, because technically the only thing that will go in nodes are nodes. But like I say, we're trying to kind of condense some stuff. So that gets us to that one. And then I can go for each VM node item in nodes. This dot draw main canvas. Oh, not this, it's item dot draw. There we go. And then I can do the same thing for beams. Beams. Beams item dot draw. Oh. There we go. And I think with that, do we have a draw function in VM beam? I'm beginning to think, well, we do. Why did that not work? Let's see. Take a look here. Is it going through that at all? What is my I value? First one, so it should skip the first one, and it comes around, and the I is now 1. All right, and if I continue past that, and so it's got everything that it needs. Oh, I see what I did. You guys see it? How about a beams.add beam here? I forgot to put it in the collection. Okay. We'll take that off, hit start. And there it is. As you can see, obviously I've gone off the screen, and there will be some error checking that needs to take place, but we now have the ability to be able to draw multiple objects fairly easily, all with the help of our helpers that we have set here. So, alrighty, so I went a little bit longer than I wanted. Obviously, I'll cut some of the dead space down on this video, but this is the first real programming video that we have. I'll also go through and I'll add some comments to the code to clean up, but you guys don't need to see me write all of that. And so with that, we're on our way. We can draw objects to our canvas, and we can dynamically create stuff. And in our next video, what we'll do is we'll work on trying to figure out, can we get it where we can click a point and capture that information and create our node, and then come in and start to interconnect things. And so there'll be a little bit of logic that has to happen on that. So anyway, thank you for coming out. As always, if you found this interesting, we'd love for you to support the channel. Toss us a big thumbs up on the video, and of course, like and subscribe to the channel, and we will keep these things coming, over the next few weeks. And we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can get ourselves a Shear moment diagrammer before we know it. So thanks again, and we'll see you all next time. Bye now.